In this video, I'm talking about the front wheel hub for the Triumph Stag. So on one of my cars, I noticed had a little bit of play in the bearing, and I needed to tighten this up, and then you have to figure out how much to tighten it up. Well, basically, as an example, there's actually, if you look carefully, it's a castellated nut, and you can put a split pin or cotter pin in this direction or in this direction here. Now when you refer to the ROM, which is here, it basically tells you to tighten the nut up to 5 pound-foot and then unscrew it one flat. Now the problem is, what I found is where if you tighten it to the specified torque and then you turn it, one flat, let's say here, and you put the split pin back in the through the hole, put the wheel back on, and I noticed that you have a bit too much play, still a bit of rocking in the bearing. So then I went on the SOC forum, that's my go-to forum, and we were talking about this, is what's the best thing to do. So what I did in my case to get rid of the play is I tightened it up to the correct torque, and then I just backed it off so I could put the split pin in and left it at that. So I think somebody, I usually like to give credit to who mentions it, but I forget, so I apologize, had mentioned that if you back it off, get a feeler gauge, and the distance between the washer and the nut should be between 2 and 8 thou. I think they mentioned that 8 thou was a bit excessive, but that's one option that you can do, is make sure there is a bit of clearance. Now people say that what happens as car runs, it gets warm, things start to expand, so you definitely want to have a little bit of movement between the nut and the stud. So that was something that was mentioned. Now another thing that was mentioned that is overlooked is the associated wheel nuts, studs that go on the car. And what we have here is a couple of them spare. This one at the front is a the two at the front here are for my wire wheels, and if you notice carefully, they are different. The one that goes on the front, the knurled piece is smaller, and the one that goes on the back, well, not just the knurled piece, it is actually physically a different nut. So not a different nut, sorry, a different wheel stud. So you want to be careful. As I mentioned, these are the ones for the Y wheels, but here's an example of one for the rear for the Y wheel, and here's one for the alloy wheel. And I don't know if you can make out the differences in the amount of shoulder that they have between them. And as you can see, the shoulder on the one that goes on the front is very small. I was aware that Tony Hart was making the ones for the front, but he's now retired, so I don't know if whoever is making the original ones for the front. I did go to somebody and I said, hey, can you null down the nut? As you can see, it was done here, but then I posted this on the forum, and somebody said that is a no-no, mainly because they are because when they're all made, the metal is formed in a particular way and takes all the curves and what have you, or I forget what the correct term is, but he'd said this is definitely a no-no. And so anyway, these are just now spare wheel nuts, but just want to make you aware there is a difference between the front, and you can explain why, because on the back you actually put the drum on the rear hubs, so that can take care of the shoulder part of the stud, but on the front one you don't have any, you don't have the hub, the brake drum, so that's why you have a different one. So again, be very careful with the wheel studs between the front and the back. And also another thing I've noticed, I did get some ones, somebody had, the previous owner had actually got some for the Stag, but they are totally incorrect. They do not have the shoulder. Let me just show you one. So somebody had sent, actually one of these was used on the front of for my Y-wheel Stag, and you can see that the shoulder is totally different from the original one. And also this one was cut down, whereas here this is an original stud for a Y-wheel. This one's also an original stud. You can tell that it's not been cut off. I have some others that were cut, and they're all different sizes. So anyway, just a little video on wheel hubs and wheel studs.